I didn't like who I was anymore. I didn't like the choices that I was making. I didn't like the situation that was going on. Things started to go downhill so fast for us. Things just kept happening, like bad things just kept happening, one after the other. And I just kept going down, down, down. And I finally came out of it. We had gone to the beach with friends. I'm still trying to process that weekend because it was a total out of body experience. Like, there's no words to describe it and explain it. You honestly just had to be there. And that weekend was what did it for me. I mean, granted, obviously, building up to that, I knew in my heart that I was like, okay, I need to get out of here. But how am I going to? How am I going to get out of here? How am I going to do it? And I just had to learn to hate what I was doing. I had to not like it in order for me to change. There was no other way. There was nothing else was going to matter. Nothing else was going to change my mind unless I started to hate it. And that's eventually what happened. Like, I was destroying myself. I was destroying the person that I was in a relationship with, calling it love. No, that's not what love is. Like, I was literally making him in his life more miserable, enabling him, supplying him with drugs, enabling him with not having to get a job, paying for everything. It's like, that was just not cool. And that was me. Oh, I'm just helping him. I guised it underneath, oh, I'm helping him, so it's okay. No. No. And this is how it sucks you in, because in the beginning, when we were first doing drugs and hanging out with our friends, doing all of that, going out to clubs, going to the bars, it was actually a lot of fun. And that's how it gets you in. It gets you in the first couple times you do this, you have fun, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so cool. And then you get trapped in the entanglement of the owing money, being a slave to it every day, the cravings that you have, and what those cravings turn you into. It's like, it turned me into a completely different person. I was so mean. I lost my friends. I treated them like crap because I just wanted to be high. And if I wasn't high, I was angry and mean and rude, and it wasn't fair to them. And so I basically stopped hanging out with my friends because of that. And it's just, and I started to hate myself. I started to hate what we were doing, and I started to like really not like the partner that I was with anymore. And it's sad because that's not how it was in the beginning. And I knew it was the drugs. I knew it was the drugs that was changing me, and I hated that. I started just like to hate everything around me. And I just turned into this somebody who was not myself, and it was actually quite scary. And there's so many other like things that happened when we were doing drugs, and I'm sure, like, I don't know, who knows if I'll talk about them. I'm still trying to process everything just because it was a lot that happened in a short year, but it all happened really fast. And that's also what kind of still gets me. It's like, how did it happen so fast? You hear people do drugs all the time for years and years and years, and it didn't hit them as hard as it hit me. And I'm like, why is it so different with me? And I'm like, dude, I have such an addictive personality. It's like, this is scary. This is really, really scary. Like, they literally just made me psycho. When I left the person that I was with, normally when there is fighting, or if there's a fight, I would try and keep the peace and just be like, okay, we're done. Like, we don't need to fight. Even though I still had things to say, it was like, no, this last time, I flipped out. I was freaking out. I was going nuts. Like, I don't know if I was like hallucinating or if I was paranoid, if it was like all of it, but I just knew like there was something wrong. And my body, my mind, everything in me was like, I need to get out of here, and I need to run, and I need to leave. And it was so urgent. It was such a strong urge of like, get out of here. What are you doing? You're going to ruin your life, kind of thing. And so I had like the biggest fight with him, and I would not let up. I was like reaming him, I was yelling at him, I was screaming at him, I was going crazy, and he's like, what is going on with you, you crazy woman? And I just left. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't live the life that we're living anymore. This is not good. This is not good, because he was already having some issues with his friends, like his best friend. They would always get into fights. We would be drinking, and we would be doing drugs, and him and his friend would be fighting. And so he essentially lost one of his like really good friends when we were dating. So there was that issue, and then another friend. It was just like, there was just too much. There was just too much chaos and too much sadness and sorrow and darkness. That's like all I can think about. Like the ending when I was doing drugs was just, we were literally slaves to it at the end. It was no longer fun. It was no longer the happy times. It was, yeah. And not to mention the things that we would do when we were on drugs, when we were with some of his friends. Like, we would do the dumbest things. Like, I'm talking about illegal things that we could have gone to jail for. And I look back and I'm like, what the frick was I doing? What was I thinking? And it was just me trying to seek approval from people, trying to fit in, trying to have somebody to like me, trying to fit into a mold, to fit into a mold that he would like, fit into a mold that his friends would like, so I could finally get approval, so somebody would finally like me. And that's just so sad, that's just so sad.